Welcome to Bootstrap, Insights for the Self-Funded Entrepreneur with Frank Cianciulli. My name is Matthew Lay, and I won't be your host on this one. We're going to be talking about changes in sales and marketing. Full disclosure, we run B2B operations, and that's what we will be talking about. And as the guy on the ground running the sales operation for one of Frank's businesses, last year you asked me some questions, so I thought I'd let you ask me again this season.
All right. Well, let me start off with probably one of the things I see often. And you got someone who starts their own business. They're the CEO. They're out there, wearing all the hats, and ultimately the number one salesperson,
right.
Probably the only salesperson. And then they get to some level of success. They want to grow their business.
Right.
So what I often see them do is then go out and try and hire some senior salesperson,
right,
and are often disappointed. Give me your thoughts on that and your experiences.
Well, we've done it. I've done it. You've done it. I've seen it, and I understand why. Because they've done it before. They maybe they have a book that you think they're gonna bring over, but I think that what the entrepreneur in that space should look at is the fact that they've got an ideal customer, and we're getting more to the point where we need to be speaking to the right people at the right time. And you're bringing in a high-priced talent to go out and find you deals.
Prospect, make phone calls. They don't ever want to do it.
They don't want to do it. They're not good at it either, okay, right? And probably, even if they're going to be bringing over deals, they're probably not the right ones for you. You would have had some of those anyways. There's a lot of problems with that model. So if you look at how sales organizations are changing, it used to be junior reps, senior rep, account managers, or whatever it might be. Now we have entire sales and marketing operations, right? So you've got BDRs, sales ops, who are the data guys, who are evaluating the strength of a lead or a market or a campaign. And the whole goal of this operation is to ensure that senior sales executives at companies like Microsoft, Oracle, or whomever are in front of the right buyers for the company at the right time when they're in the buying cycle.
So can maybe break that down for us?
Sure.
You said BDR, so I'm familiar with that term, but for our viewers who aren't, so what would the BDR be in their role?
Let's look at it for the entrepreneur and just see. So if the entrepreneur's got strength in these certain markets and knows that if he's in front of those people, he's got a value proposition, but just simply can't get in front of them. And he's not going to pick up the phone and make those cold calls either. He's probably going company to company through referral. Mm-hmm. And so BDR, in its simplest term, business development representative, is the person who makes the calls, mm-hmm, and goes out after those customers. But they're generally younger people who aren't going to fully understand the value proposition on day one. And so there's a process that needs to be applied that usually involves marketing as well. So if you don't have a marketing professional or an agency, it's going to be a little bit more challenging, because in this day and age, you make 80 calls, you're lucky if 8 people pick up the phone.
No one's pick up the phone.
Right. So it's about a cadence and a process that is continuous outreach. You're not selling to an individual, you're selling to a company, so it's multiple touch points. It involves email, phone, voicemail, and an alignment on the marketing side. So, as bootstrap entrepreneurs, we have limited budget and limited spend. Mm-hmm. If we had all that money, we would be able to blanket the internet and billboards and TV shows, and people would be calling us every day. Yep. We don't.
No.
So if we are going to get into social media advertising or online advertising, and we are going to bring in our first salesperson, and they might be like a BDR or a junior person, you got to align those things together. So you want to target, I don't know what you're selling, but if you want to target people in a certain rural market because that's good for your product, then you want to have the BDR and the ad spend aligned for that so that you can maximize it. Because the key for you is not, is not talking to just anyone. Any meeting doesn't matter. You can talk to 1,000 people who are not the right buyer persona or even in the buying cycle, mm-hmm, and you're going to close, probably 0 deals. It doesn't matter. But if you can get in front of that one or two right person, that's what you're always aiming for.
A much more targeted approach, whereas perhaps in the older days when everyone picked up the phone and everybody was relying on a salesperson to educate them on your product or service, those days are kind of gone.
They're gone. I mean, the self-educated buyer, the first thing you do when you want to buy something new is you Google it,
yep,
right? And if you're sitting there thinking you know that and you're not being found on Google, that's a concern, right? So how do you get around that as a smaller organization? So one way would be to have people constantly, BDRs, calling and getting information in their inbox, knowing that you're there. reinforce that with a small ad spend in that geographic or that vertical base through LinkedIn or whatever it might be, and now they see your ads a little bit. You're getting a little bit of awareness within that group, but you're focusing that awareness.
And I'd assume that BDR is also building your database, making sure it's up to date.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing that we struggle with, right? How many of us wish that when we started our business, we didn't keep everything in our Outlook and we had it all in the CRM. And maybe you're expanding to that one guy, but maybe you tried 2 or 3 sales reps and they did nothing while they were there for you. They sold nothing, but they were there for 6 months and they did.
That sounds familiar.
Right, and you have nothing to show for it. Yeah. But if the database, if at least they put it all in the database, you had that. And so the BDR team within our organization cleans the database. We campaign into our existing book of business. Don't kid yourself, there's a reason why customer service people are in customer service. They're not salespeople. Having a person who's going to be compensated, it does help. And they are able to, we're able to focus target them into certain regions. The data side of it beyond your own database is getting information in Canada is hard, the right buyer information. And so, you know, when you hire people that are younger in their 20s, they're faster on computers, they're better at doing that stuff. They can do some research for you. They can help in a lot of places that you don't have right now. So the way big companies are operating is a result of what's going on in the world. Mm-hmm. And we can't say we can't do that because we're just a small bootstrap company. We need to figure out how we do it the same way.
Okay. So if I'm just to summarize this, and if I'm reading you correctly, so you know, I'm a one-man show. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm out building a business. Maybe I got, you know, some kind of production staff.
Yeah.
I want to grow my sales.
Yeah.
As opposed to, let's say, paying a high-priced senior rep.
Yeah.
Maybe I go for someone more junior BDR,
yeah.
have them run in that role. Potentially, that's a great way for them to also learn the business
yeah.
and develop into a senior rep. And ultimately, you know, as being the entrepreneur, you still got to be the top salesperson in your company,
yeah.
and you're at least, especially through the bootstrap process. And you'll probably get a better ROI all around.
Probably will. And you know what? If all of the other things I mentioned about the buyer and the ads, if all of that's not making sense to you, it may not even be right to hire someone, and you may be looking at it actually an agency first. Some sort of a consultant agency who can help you create that strategy at your budget, rather than you having to learn all of the stuff that I learned through failure over the past couple of years. So with that, we are going to end this episode. I could talk about that topic all day long, and that's why we talk about sales.
I'm sure we will in future episodes.
Yeah, that's why we talk about sales every time we're here. So until next time, I want you to send your questions in. We're going to do another Ask Frank episode. Share with friends, family, loved ones, anyone who's into entrepreneurialism, and keep it lean.